Hello, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay, if you guys can see me okay. I hope everything is okay. It's telling me my audio is muted. Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for being here today. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia Yarns and also the School of SweetGeorgia. And this is our live office hours that we do every month for the School of SweetGeorgia. It happens on the last Thursday of every month at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And it just gives us a chance to sort of catch up about what's been happening inside the school, what we've been doing, what we have coming next, all of the things that are going to be happening. There's actually quite a number of things that are going to be happening. But yeah, we're going to talk about all of those things. So, I mean, here, I don't know where you guys are from. You guys can leave in the chat where you guys are signing in from. I see Glenda, you're saying you're signing in from Victoria. Ellena says you can hear me okay. That's fantastic. I see Mochi Mochi Yarns. I see Star Athena. I see Ellena, KW Stevenson. I see so many of you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. Now, here, from my window here, I can actually see that today is like one of the first days that there's been frost, which was very, very exciting for the kids. And there was also snow on the mountain. So it's all changing. Everything is happening right now. So I'm very, very excited about all that. From North Carolina. Wonderful. So let me share with you what we are going to be talking about today. This happens. We're going to talk about, a couple of things that are happening sort of top of mind, what's going on right now. We're going to talk about some latest updates inside the school, what is coming up, and all sorts of things like that. I have like a number of things that are coming that are changing. So we'll talk about all that as well. We're going to share things that have been going on inside the community. If you have any questions, originally live office hours was supposed to be a time where I could answer questions for you. And so if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat and then we can talk about those as well. But finally, like the highlight of the time that we spend together is sharing the things that you as members have made inside the school. So if you have shared some kind of a project over the last month or so, any sort of share your wins, any finished objects, any successes, highlights, all of that kind of stuff, we try to highlight and feature inside this section. So really, really excited to hear about that. You have everything from Robin, who woke up to snow, and Pearl, who's got wearing shorts in Virginia. That's fantastic. I love that. So what is happening right now, top of mind? The first thing I wanted to mention, I'm super, super excited about this, is if you guys know HGA in the States, the Hand Weavers Guild of America, they have been doing a podcast. It's kind of a live event that they host on Zoom. It's like a Zoom meeting, live Zoom meeting, and at the same time it's broadcast to Facebook, and then after the fact it's recorded and then saved on YouTube. So you can watch this podcast that they do called Textiles and Tea, and it's been going on for quite a long time now, and you can hear from all sorts of different weavers, all sorts of different makers in this space. And so I'm very, very excited. I'm going to be the guest on next Tuesday. So it's going to be Halloween episode, Tuesday, October 31st. It's 1 p.m. Pacific time here, but also 4 p.m. Eastern time. And so I'll be chatting with Kathy from HGA during that hour. There's also going to be about 15 minutes of Q&A, so you can also join in for that. And in order to register for the event, they need you to register to be on the Zoom call so that they can send you the link, because the link is not open. You have to sign up to get the link to join the Zoom. And so you can sign up at their website. So HGA's website is weavespindye.org, and it'll be /textilestea. Very, very exciting. If you are interested in hearing more about different weavers and different fiber artists, how they work and what they do, there's a huge catalog of these episodes on the HGA YouTube channel. And so I've listened in on a number of these, and they're really, really wonderful. Just a chance to get to know that particular maker a little bit better, because I know that for many of these weavers that I follow, you see their work. I've followed them for many years, and it's really cool to be able to hear them actually talk about their work and what they do and what inspires them, all that kind of stuff. So I'm very excited. I'm going to be that speaker next Tuesday, and I hope that you guys will join me for that. It would be nice to hear familiar faces or see familiar faces in there. Now, the other big news I think that you may or may not already know is that we are going to be moving our Sweet Georgia studio. So we have our new studio space. It's going to be still close by, about 5 minutes away from where we are right now. But you can see in here in this photo, this is where we are currently filming. We're filming Kim McKenna. We just filmed Kim McKenna earlier this week, and then we're also going to be continuing filming tomorrow. You can see Greta there, her arm with the clipboard and everything. But this is our current setup for our filming space for when we film classes for the School of Sweet Georgia. And so you can see Kim is actually going to be teaching a couple of courses for spinning. One of them is going to be about spinning one particular fiber 4 or 5 different ways. Her yarns are absolutely gorgeous. They are so beautiful. It's amazing when you see Kim's yarns. It just makes you feel like, oh, that is what's possible. It just sets the bar. And yeah, her yarns are absolutely gorgeous. So really excited about that one. And she's also going to be demonstrating some other things to do with drive systems for spinning wheels. So, you know, like I have a shacked matchless wheel, and it actually can function in multiple different drive systems. So you can use it in Scotch tension. You can also use it in double drive. You can actually also use it in Irish tension. And so there's going to be a bit of a conversation about all of these different drive systems. How do they work? Why would you use them? When do you use them? All of those kinds of things. So we're filming all those things. And then before we move, I also, in that space, we're going to film the weaving blocks course. And I'm just writing the workbook for that right now and getting all that ready. And we're going to film all this in the next probably coming 4 to 6 weeks. And then we're going to move in the middle of December. So very, very excited about all that. But it's probably going to take us a little bit of time in early January to sort of get a new filming space organized and set up and reimagined. We might have to paint the background. We might have to do a bunch of things. So excited about making all that happen. Excited to see what changes we're going to make. I am always open to suggestions. If you guys have any thoughts about what you would like to see, I'm always open to suggestions, but I'm looking at a lot of ideas and things like that right now. But it's all really exciting because setting up a new space is always kind of exciting. I'm going to give you a sneak peek because this has not been published anywhere else, but this is a sneak peek. So this is on the left-hand side, this photo here. This is the new filming space. That's going to be the room that we're going to use for filming. And you can see there's this big giant window in the back, which is lovely because it has this great view. However, we can't really operate with that sunshine coming in the window. So we have to find a way to modify the light. We'll have to set up in like maybe this corner over here. So there's a lot of figuring things out that needs to happen. But this is the only room that we can film in because it's the only enclosed room. Well, it's pretty much the only enclosed room in the whole space. And then this photo on the right-hand side, this is actually the front, well, we call it the front shop. And so this is the area where if you were to visit us in Vancouver, you would sort of come in these doors and there's this big, giant, beautiful bay window. Again, there's lots of sunlight in here. It's really nice for the sunshine. And we're just going to have to figure out where all the yarn goes in here. But this is basically going to be our front shop space. But excited about all that happening. The next thing I wanted to mention is that we had talked last time about how we're working on this plan for 2024 for planning around providing a bit of structure around the content that we make and providing sort of structure around when and how we make things together. And we've gone sort of like talked about all different sort of extremes, everything from planning a make along every single month, which seems way too much, and that we're trying to pull back on things like that. So rather than making something every single month, we're trying to come up with these quarterly themes, because one of the things that was found challenging is that, oh, if we're crocheting this month, then, you know, we're not providing support for knitting people, or we're not providing support for weavers, but we can't do all of the crafts all at exactly the same time. That again is overwhelming. So by breaking it up into these 4 quarterly themes, we're hoping that everybody can participate no matter what it is that you want to do. So the first theme for sort of Q1, winter, so January, February, March, we're going to be looking at things to do with color. So how to blend color, how to mix color. Maybe we're talking about marled color. Maybe we're talking about spinning with color. Maybe we're talking about crocheting color work, which is like all new to me. Maybe it's knitting color work. Maybe it is weaving and revisiting a lot of the things that we did with the hand woven color series. And how do we weave with color? All sorts of things to do with color. So from this point of view, it doesn't matter which craft you happen to be doing. You could be doing embroidery on your knitted stuff and looking at what kind of colors are you going to choose for your embroidered motifs on your knitted sweater, something like that. But we'll just be talking about color, and you can participate from whatever craft you happen to be working on. But the overall theme is color and exploring color, not being scared of color. The second theme, Q2 theme, is springtime. Springtime is about growth. It's about potential. It's about lightness. It's about getting out there and doing things. And so with that kind of like spring, fresh, revitalized kind of feeling, we want to explore things like complexity. Not that you're not going to be learning new stitches through the whole year, but it could be more of a deep dive into things like lace. You could knit lace. You can do crochet lace. You can do weaving. You can weave lace, you could spin yarn for lace weight yarn. You could also talk about texture. Maybe it's cables. Maybe we're talking about knitting cables. Maybe we're talking about making textured cloth like waffle weave or whatever it is. So that's sort of a theme to explore complexity. Yeah. And then finally, if summer is kind of when, July, August, September is Q3. And July, August, September is basically kids are on vacation, summer vacation. So we're very much like also with our kids on vacation doing things. And so the theme for that is really vacation mode. What kind of things can you do outside? What kind of projects can you pack in your purse? What's portable? What can you pack in a backpack? What can you take to the park? What can you take to the beach? What are you going to take camping? What are you going to take on the road? Maybe you're taking a e-spinner. Maybe you're taking spindles. All sorts of things around that kind of theme. How can you weave? How can you make weaving portable? How can you do that? So questions like that, and just really exploring all of that. And then fall is going to be about simplicity. So fall is kind of like, I feel like things get really busy, or kids going back to school. There's a lot of activities, lots of things going on. And so with that, there's kind of this desire to cozy up and cocoon and rest and all of those kinds of things. And so looking at things like plain weave, stockinette knitting, back to basics, really like just focusing on what is good cloth, what makes good cloth, what kind of cloth do you want to make, all of those kinds of questions. So I am interested to hear from you what you think of these themes. What do these themes mean to you? What kind of questions you have about things that we can help answer for you. And maybe what we'll do is maybe we'll start either like a chat in the Discord, or we can start a chat in the forums. And then you can just, if you think of ideas of things that you want us to explore with a variety of different kinds of content, whether it's a video or whether it's me talking about it or whether we write it up or something like that, just let me know what you're interested in learning more about, and then we can sort of build around that. So it kind of also ties into other changes that we are working on right now. And one of the things that's coming that I'm hoping to have come early next week, I'm hoping to have it ready for October 31st is my goal. If not that, November 1st. But the goal is that the current SweetGeorgia website that we have has, like, originally it started off as a blog, then it was a shop, then we combined the two things together, and then it's been living in this kind of combined format for a number of years, probably about 10 years. And we have just a lot of trouble with it, because then the content sort of can't live in the best way possible, and the shop can't live in the best way possible. And so what we're doing right now is separating the two. So the shop is going to become a shop website, and the blog or the content or the magazine or whatever you want to call it, the content side of it is going to become its own thing as well. So the shop website is going to be at shop.sweetgeorgiayarns.com, and the content is going to live at sweetgeorgiayarns.com. So that's how the two websites are going to function. And then, of course, we have the third website, which is the School of Sweet Georgia. Now, for everybody here who is an SOS member, of course, you guys get discounts. You guys, we put all of our SOS kits. All of the kits that go together with the courses, any of the undyed yarns, undyed fibers that you might use for dyeing classes, all of that stuff is sold in our Sweet Georgia Yarns shop. So that is all going to be moved over to that website, shop.sweetgeorgiayarns.com. And we'll set up that discount code so that you guys can get it, so you can continue to get your discounts there. So we'll let you know all about that in like an upcoming email when it's all ready to go. So that's part of it. The other part of it is that we noticed that we were putting a lot of like articles on the school website, but we want to sort of keep the school website as the courses and the forums. And so what we're going to do is we're going to move the articles that currently exist on the SOS website. We're going to move those also to the Sweet Georgia website, so that the Sweet Georgia website, this content sort of website, if you want to call it a magazine, I'm trying to figure out what word to call it, because blog is not right and magazine is not right, and I don't know what else to call it besides calling it the content site. We're going to put all the content on the content site, and so that is kind of what I have planned. And then Mochi Mochi is asking about the app. The app is something that we started years ago when we first started the school. And then the people who developed the app, well, I guess we ran into a lot of trouble with the app, because there was so much discrepancy between how the app was presenting information and how the website was presenting information. And the website itself is already a mobile-friendly website. So we decided to discontinue the app. Actually, a while ago, maybe 2 years ago, we decided to discontinue the app, maybe a year ago, I think, discontinue the app, and then we just go forward with the mobile version of the website. So if you're using the SOS website as on your mobile device, it should function perfectly, and it should function just the same way as it does on a desktop. So that's what we're trying to go for. It's just the mobile-friendly version of the website and have those things function. There is the SOS app does not work anymore. No, you're correct. The SOS app does not work anymore. It has been discontinued, and we pulled it off of the app stores. So if it's still there, we'll have to go back and look at that and see what's going on with that, because it shouldn't be there anymore. It should be removed. So yeah, that's the update about that. And then the other thing that's kind of like a sneak peek, just to let you know that this is something that's coming, because we haven't done this ever since we started the school, is that we are going to start our club subscriptions. So we used to do a club where we send out yarn and fiber every single month. And so now we want this chance to kind of like go back to being able to explore different dyeing techniques, different color combinations, different ideas. It was just really like experimental, a way to really push ourselves creatively to create colors and combinations and all sorts of things like that. So we want to bring this back, this idea of the club subscriptions. So we're going to start a monthly yarn club, and the shipments are going to start February 2024. And then we're going to do the fiber club, but as a quarterly club. We thought that maybe spinning fiber every single month might be overwhelming for people, but you can let me know if I'm wrong. But we thought maybe quarterly fiber would be a good thing to do. And those shipments would start in March. So it would be March, June, I think September, and then December would be the shipments for that. And it gave us really like a time to spin up the yarn, see what we can make with it, all sorts of things. The fiber, because you have to take it from fiber to yarn and then to finished product. I feel like it's a bit of a slower process. It takes a little bit more time. So I think that idea would be really fun. So yeah, fiber club, quarterly fiber club. Really, really excited about that. Yes. Fantastic. Yeah, very excited about all of this stuff that's going to come out. And so I'm hoping that we're going to be able to launch all of this stuff officially, publicly next week. But just giving you the sneak peek, because I feel like live office hours, you guys get the first news of many things. So I'm excited about that. Yes. As always with our clubs, we did not ever provide patterns with the clubs. We provided ideas and suggestions on what you could do. And that was part of the reason, is because we wanted to see sort of the variety of things that people created, and not sort of tell you, oh, we're going to all make this thing. It gave you kind of an idea, like when you see the yarn and you see the fiber, you think for yourself, what can I make with this? What could I do with this? And we provide, a few suggestions and ideas for that. So very, very excited. So, latest updates. These are the things that are coming out in the school very, very shortly. So the next thing that is up is the sectional warping class with Laura Fry. So very, very excited about this. The sectional warping, if you don't know, is this piece here, and it's got all of these like little fingers basically that that separate out the warp threads. And so this sectional warp beam doesn't come standard with most weaving looms, but it's a piece that you can get and add on to a weaving loom, like a floor loom. Yeah, on a floor loom, usually on a floor loom. I don't think I've ever seen them for a table loom. Yeah, on a floor loom. And so it really, really helps with preparing very long warps. And it's often used for people who are thinking about production weaving. So weaving a lot of yardage. It can also be really, really helpful for a number of other reasons, like if you are winding a very, very wide warp, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later too with the rigid heddle stuff, but if you wind a very, very wide warp, it can be very difficult to achieve good and even tension across the entire width of that warp. And so doing the sectional warp technique, where you're winding just like 1 or 2 inches at a time, you can really control how much tension goes on to each of these sections. And so overall, from one end to the other, you could get really, really consistent tension in each of these sections. The other thing that's really nice is that you can do this sort of in chunks. You could weave, you could warp 1 or 2 or 5 sections and then go for lunch and then come back. But if you're warping a huge, big, wide warp by yourself, you can't really pause in the middle of that process, that beaming process. You have to do the whole thing. So there's a lot of benefits to doing sectional warping, and I've been told that once you start sectional warping, you'll never go back to like regular warping. But this is something that I encourage you guys to at least watch the content and then decide for yourself if you think that this is something that would be beneficial for your own weaving practice. I think it really depends on how much yardage you might want to weave of one particular warp. So something like putting on a big long warp and making 10 dish towels. This is a great idea, that kind of thing. So that is coming very, very soon. And then we have Caitlin's Colorwork Mitts project and course is coming out very soon after that. So that's going to be all about knitting stranded colorwork and with this mitts pattern. And so this is all done in our Sweet Georgia BFL and Silk Fine, which is one of my favorite yarns right now. It's a fingering weight, blue-faced Leicester wool mixed with silk. It feels nice. I love it. So that is coming out. And then we have Charlotte's crochet class, the crochet amigurumi class. So is there a release date set anywhere? The release dates, yes, I have in my notes that the release date for the sectional warping class is November 2nd, and then Colorwork Mitts should be November 23rd. And Crochet Amigurumi I have is December 7th. But Greta, you can correct me if those dates are incorrect. But that's what I have here. So this Crochet Amigurumi course is kind of going to be like the first in a bit of a series. So Charlotte is teaching the very basics of creating these shapes first. So it's a lot about creating the shapes and then what can you do with the shapes. So it is quite a in-depth course on amigurumi. And so yeah, make the shapes, and then what can you make from the shapes? You can make these cute little birds, these cute little robins. And she also has some other projects as well. She has, I think, like it's a whale. We've taken a bunch of photos of them. They're going to be really cute and adorable. I love it. So these are these? Oh, let me see. I have a question here about, you're asking if some of the rounds look like they are being done with 3 colors. It does look like that. It does look like that for this part of the mitt. It does look like there are 3 colors. And then down here it's 2 colors. So gray and beige, gray and beige. Yes. Oh, Greta says no. So that will be interesting. Okay, fantastic. So in terms of upcoming events, I have for November, this is the calendar, this is what it looks like. In terms of our Crafternoon events, we have them in pink. So these are all the community events are always in pink. So Crafternoons, these ones on Mondays are with Robin. And then we have a Crafternoon on Saturday. And this one is hosted by Vicky, one of our moderators as well. And then we have here last Thursday of the month is a live office hour session. And then the second Friday of every month is Taking Back Friday. And that's also a live stream, but that goes to like the whole internet. And so we do that on the second Friday of every month. And that's more talking about everything that's going on with Sweet Georgia side of things. And then here you see in the middle of the month here, we have November 15th. We have the hand spun, Weev Belong, Zoom meeting, get together, catch up meeting. And so this is a meeting that's going to be hosted by Debbie Held, who is one of our spinning instructors, but she is basically going to be sort of engaging everybody in this whole weave along, weaving with your hand spun scraps. So we're going to talk about that in a minute, but weaving with your hand spun scraps. You've been spinning, you've been experimenting with spinning, you've been testing different things, trying spindle spinning, trying supported spindling, all these different things. And then bringing all of those sample yarns together and using something like a very, very simple tool, like a rigid heddle loom, to very quickly warp up this loom and then start to weave with your hand spun and to see, how does it feel? Do you like this cloth that you're making? What does it feel like after you wash it? How much does it change after you wash your cloth? All of these things. So that is going to happen. And this pink time slot, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 15th of November, is a time where everybody can come and join Debbie and just have a chat and show up, show your work and say, hey, you know, what did you do in this case? And what did you find? What did you discover? What did you learn? All of that kind of stuff. So that will be a nice, fun catch-up day. We're also talking about it in Discord, Greta says, and so there's the link there as well. Fantastic. And then all these purple time slots are the co-working sessions. So the virtual co-working is basically when we all get on Zoom together, and for the first 5 minutes, we'll share a little bit about what we're going to be working on. And then for 50 minutes of the hour, we are all on mute and silently working, but together in the same room. And it's been very, very effective, actually. And then the last 5 minutes, we turn the sound back on and everybody can share a little bit about what they got done and all of that kind of stuff. So the Friday sessions are typically hosted by me, by myself. Sometimes if I'm not here on Friday, then someone will come and help with those days. But Thursday is with Charlotte. The co-working sessions are with Charlotte. And the Monday co-working sessions are with Greta as well. And you can find, Greta's saying, you can find all of these on the community calendar. So this is just a reminder of the co-working sessions and what they are. These are all the upcoming dates. And then you can see here on this photo, this is what I actually worked on during the last co-working session. If you were there on the co-working session, I showed you with like kind of my laptop camera what I was working on, but this is like an actual nicer photo of what I actually did. And so this is just, it gives you an hour to play with the technique and try different things, but I managed to weave all of this in the hour and really explore how that particular thing works. So this is all in preparation for that overshot class that I'm going to be teaching. And this is inlay. This is overshot inlay. And it's really fun. It is more simple than I thought, but at the same time, it requires some practice. It does require some practice. It's like tapestry. I found it like, it felt a lot like tapestry. But anyways, we'll talk more about that for sure. And that is what I did during the co-working session. So I encourage you guys to come and join us. The meetings are really nice. They're very casual. So lovely. This is the Weev Belong information. So this is actually the hand-spun, hand-woven scarves that Debbie brought when she came to film with us for her spinning classes. And so I think that part of this Weev Belong idea came out of the fact that we saw these scarves and they're really fun. They're just really, really fun. And you can just combine any sorts of scraps of yarn and bring them all together and create something really unique, really fun. Yeah, so we encourage you guys to go and review the class, the Rigid Heddle Weaving Basics class, because that just shows you how to warp, how to direct warp a very small rigid heddle loom. Easy, easy, easy. You can start weaving within an hour, basically. And then November 1st to the 30th, we're going to be doing this Weev Belong. You can see some of the blog posts that have already been published about it, and I feel like Debbie gives really compelling reasons for why to join, why to participate, what you can do, and then trying to figure out how to put those yarns on your rigid heddle loom. Like what what set do you choose? Like what reed do you choose for your rigid heddle loom? Like what set, what EPI is basically what we're looking at, all of that kind of stuff. And so you can find more details on the Connect page. We are going to be talking about all of this in Discord as well. There's a channel for spinning to weave or weaving with your hand spun. And so that will be there. You guys can join that one as well. I'm catching up with you guys in the chat. So just a reminder that yes, our community forums are here. So it's basically schoolofsweetgeorgia.com/community. If you have any trouble getting into the community or said something like, oh, you don't have access, but you are actually a member, just message us and we can fix that. There's like a little bit of a weird sort of ongoing glitch for some people, but we can definitely fix that. There's not a problem. So if you have any trouble with the community, just let us know. But that is where a ton of the conversation is happening. We always say that like the school is about 50% course content and about 50% the community. So much learning, so much sharing, so much exploration definitely happens in the community. So we encourage you guys to go check out that space if you have not already. We also have the Discord chat, which is a little bit more like a quick format, like a chatty sort of format, and you can put that app on your phone, you can have it on your desktop, and there's all the different channels that you can join. And so that one is more open to the community at large, not just SOS community members, but you can connect your SOS account to your Discord account, and then you'll get highlighted with like a little orange, your name turns orange, and then everybody will be able to see, oh, you're also in the school, and then you'll be able to find each other that way as well. So there is 2 places where you can connect and chat with people. And this is actually the new thing that we are going to try. We know that our co-working times, our meeting times are sometimes not perfect for everyone. I mean, we are planning a lot of these things during the times when we're at work, because outside of work, we are running around with our kids and on weekends and doing lots of things. And it's just like very active and very busy. And so we don't always have schedules that match up with everyone else. And so if you have a different time slot that's more ideal for you, so say like 6 o'clock in the evenings, Eastern Standard Time or something like that, and you want to sort of arrange for a group of SOS members to get together, we have created this function where you can kind of do a make your own meetup. So this is going to be an always open Zoom room. And so if you go to this link, schoolofsweetgeorgia.com/make your own meetup, you'll be able to access the Zoom room link. And then when you click on that link, you'll just be able to go into a Zoom room. It will always be open. Anybody can join. Well, anybody who has the link can join. So don't pass around the link, but anybody can join. And so you can sort of just pre-arrange with other members and say, oh, Tuesday at 6 o'clock Eastern time, I'm going to be in the Zoom room and I'm going to be working on this. And then anybody else who wants to join you at that same time can sort of come into the room at the same time. And so in order to coordinate all of these things, we are going to set up a couple of threads inside the community forums where people can you guys can post, oh, I'm going to be here at this time, I'm going to be here at this time. And hopefully we can start to set up kind of ongoing sessions. So if there's a group of people, there's a group of SOS members, you guys all want to meet and chat about crochet, or you want to meet and chat about specifically amigurumi, then we can just kind of like say, I'm going to be here at this time and I would like to chat about amigurumi. You guys can all set up a time. That way we don't have to sort of try to imagine what time works for you. You can also help let us know what time works best. And then the other thing is the idea of if you would like to host a virtual co-working session. Hosting a virtual co-working session is basically opening up the room and then allowing everybody to just work silently together in that room. And so if you are interested in hosting a co-working session, a virtual co-working session, at a different time slot or something like that, you can also let us know. So we're going to create 2 forum threads, and then we'll just kind of like talk from there. But that is kind of the idea that we are going to be working with. So hopefully that will be helpful for many of you. So let's talk about the things that you guys have been doing. I think I saw Louise in the chat today, but I wanted to share this. This is Louise's photo of her very first raw fleece. I am very excited about this. So she posted this. She said, my Saturday and Sunday were spent tackling my raw fleece. The ewe's name is Yuka. Why do I know this? Because her name was on a sheet of paper folded up in the fleece. I know that getting yarn to spin this way is a very long and time-consuming process. To know where your yarn comes from, the breed, and the animal's name is remarkable. I'm starting off with the fleece from possibly a Romanov. I do know that what I have is from a ewe bred for meat, the bottom of the chain, you can say. But for me, this is fine. It was a gift, and I take it with great pleasure to learn from. And so she says she's spinning with drop spindles, and learning to use a diz and all this kind of stuff. So she's learning more and more about spinning, but has dived in to working with raw fleece. So it's fantastic. And she says like she's done some research and she's found a few farms where she might be able to get different breeds of raw fleece to try a whole bunch of different things. So she said specifically, Greta, I would love to know how and where you get your fleece, along with what is your favorite to work with. And so if you guys go to this thread here, her thread here in the comments, in the forums, I would love for you guys to sort of chime in if you have already worked with raw fleece, if you have a good source for raw fleece. If you just jump into that conversation and just share a little bit about like what is a good source for getting good fleece from, where have you bought fleeces? I know I have been sucked into buying a couple of fleeces in previous years because there's a bit of a scarcity sort of mentality. I mean, there's only so many fleeces that you can get in one season, and then when they're gone, they're gone. So there's a bit of a rush to get like a really good fleece. And so I bought like a Gotland fleece in that way when they were available. I feel like it was through Treenway Silks, but this is like a long, long time ago. So it would be interesting to hear where everyone is getting their raw fleece from these days. And if you've never worked with fleece before, you can also check out this class that was done by Kim McKenna, and it's called Working from Fleece. And so she showed a Cordale, and there's another fleece, I can't remember the name, but she showed different ways of washing. Her method for washing is very, very thorough, and it produces like really, really beautiful, clean fleece. And simpler than I expected. So I would definitely go and check that out, and then go have this conversation with Louise about raw fleece. It's fantastic. Looks great. The next thing I wanted to share is from Katya, and Katya is a new member from Northern Germany. So you can see here, she has posted this is her introduction post. So you can go and say hi to Katya here. And then she has another post here, a multi-craftual journey. And so in these posts, I really encourage you to check them out. She's posted a number of beautiful project photos. I'll show you one in a second, but this is her crafting area that she has just recently cleaned up. She said that they had like a bit of a make-along in their small crafting community, and the goal was basically to either finish things or frog things, basically declutter your stash, and just kind of reset your space, reset your stash, reset your projects, so that way you could allow your creativity to flourish from there. And so she says she's tidied up her crafting area, and it just is good. Now she's ready for other things. So you can see her beautiful sort of hand spun yarns. There's some hand spun, it looks like, and some other dyed yarns and things like that here. She's got her loom in the back. She's got a spinning wheel. All of the things are tidied up in baskets. It looks really, really lovely and organized. I wanted to show you this one because this is the close-up of what was on her loom. And so this is a project that's on her rigid huddle loom that she's weaving right now. So you'll find more of her photos in those 2 threads. So I encourage you guys to go say hi to Katya, new member, and yeah, and check out these beautiful photos. I'm very drawn to this particular weaving on the rigid huddle loom just because of the colors, the way they change from that yellow to orange. I think it's so beautiful. So, so nice. Also wanted to share this one because this one comes from the Spinning from Scratch thread and in the community forums. And so Spinning from Scratch is really the course for people who have never touched fiber before, never touched a spinning wheel, never touched a spindle. It is the absolute beginning of learning how to spin. And so I'm always so excited to see people posting in this particular thread because everyone is posting, this is my first hand spun. This is what I'm making from my first hand spun. And so this is so, so cool because this is Leanne. She's been spinning and you can see, if you go into this thread here, you can see her progression. You can see like bobbin 1, bobbin 2, bobbin 3, and how her spinning consistency has changed just from bobbin to bobbin. It's really, really remarkable to watch this. And so she's saying, I am going to use my hand spun, and she's using it right now with a combination of other fibers. I see some Ito here. I see some hand-dyed yarn. This is like the fuzzy silk and mohair kind of yarn, I believe. And it looks so pretty in here. It looks so great. And so she's doing a little bit of thick and thin hand spun in there as well. And yeah, I love it. I love that people use their hand spun. Yeah, it's fantastic. I encourage you guys to do that. It looks beautiful. So congratulations on your spinning, Leanne. This looks great. We have a rigid huddle towel here. This is by Jennifer. And so she says here, I just finished my second project on my rigid huddle loom. It's just a simple towel. Its worsted weight really flies. I'm pleased enough with the final outcome for just such a quick and easy project. And really, it's just a kitchen towel, so perfection isn't required. And then, so you can see the thread where this is happening in the forums, and you can also check out the Rigid Huddle Weaving Basics course. That is where you would learn how to set up your loom to weave something like this. But the towel looks great. But Jennifer continues on and she says, I do have some glaring issues that I would like advice on. So she said, I struggled to direct warp this because it's so much yarn and it's spread across 24 inches. And so it was a lot to keep even tension. And so this is the thing that I talked about at the beginning when we talked about sectional warping. You're only warping 1 or 2 inches at a time, so you can keep really even tension on that width of warp. But if you're warping 24 inches at the same time, and you're maybe like direct warping to 1 peg, you can see how there's going to be a difference in the distance from the loom to the peg if you're in the middle of your warp. But if you're on the 12 inches from the center of the warp, here to here, you're going to form a bit of a triangle. There's going to be an angle to your yarn, which means that this yarn is going to be longer than the yarn in the middle. It's also very difficult to sort of hold 24 inches wide of yarn and then try to beam your loom. So all of it is just, it's a bit tricky to wind a warp that is so wide. So one of the things that people do when they are winding warps, direct warping for wider rigid huddle projects, is that you might have a number of warping pegs rather than just one central direct warping peg. Maybe you use 2, or maybe you have 3. And so maybe for 3 warping pegs, you take like 8 inches of warp and you warp it to 1 peg, and then the next 8 inches of warp you warp it to the middle peg, and then the last 8 inches you warp it to the 3rd peg. So that way you can create a little bit more of an even tension, hopefully, on all of that warp threads across the width. And then she continues on, and Jennifer saying, I also definitely have issues with beating the weft. The right side of my project is 1.5 inches shorter than the left, and it's definitely in the weaving, not in the hemming. And so some of the things that I have trouble with is absolutely, I didn't understand it when I first started using a rigid huddle loom. I was like, how do I make sure that the reed is straight? There's no way to make sure that the reed is straight. You kind of have to you have to eyeball and make sure that the reed is straight to the front beam of your loom. And so that's going to take a little bit of practice. Because this thing is so flexible, you could theoretically beat at an angle over consistently and then not really ever notice. The other thing, if you follow this thread, because Laura Fry also chimes in and a couple of people also chime in and provide some suggestions and some guidance and things like that, is that your left arm and your right arm and your left arm are sometimes different strength. So when you're beading, it's very possible that you're just like beading a tiny little bit more with one hand than the other. And so that's going to pack down a little bit more. And you might not be able to feel that or realize that that's happening, but just pulling the reed and then a little bit, tiny bit of tug is kind of compressing one side of your weaving down a little bit more than the other. So all very, very interesting. But then I think in the end, it's just keep practicing. This is the second project. Keep going, keep weaving. It looks great. I think it looks fantastic. And I think at the end, Jennifer was saying that, yeah, the fabric feels really good, washes up really good, and you can use it. And hand-woven towels are really, I feel like, the best thing in my kitchen. It's my most favorite thing to use in the kitchen is our hand-woven towels. So I love them. I encourage you guys to try this. Looks fantastic. This one is a spinning photo. It looks like a Luette Victoria wheel. I could be wrong. A Victoria wheel. But these are by Suzanne, and Suzanne is spinning this fiber that she got from John Arbon, and she's going to be using it for the Weev Belong in November. She said she wanted to use it to weave a cushion front she's going to weave the front of a cushion with this yarn. Very, very interesting. And so she said that she wound the fiber around a stick, and as she had seen in one of the courses, and found it helpful. So this is basically from Kim McKenna's class, the Nuances to Spinning Better Yarns. And so she talks about winding a distaff with your prepared fiber, so that way you keep your fiber nice and tidy. It doesn't get all mushed up on the couch or in your lap and things like that while you're trying to spin it. So it keeps the yarn really nice and tidy so that you can spin a really nice and consistent and beautiful yarn. So that's one of the things I wanted to highlight for you guys if you didn't know where that came from. And this fiber was really, really interesting. She has another photo where she took a photo of the label. And so this is called Apple Door Top. And it's a blend of 40% Devon close wool, 40% Romney, and 20% Exmoor Blueface. Those all sound very different. I don't know what close wool is. I don't know what Devon close wool is. I've never actually heard of that. And so just like so many different sheep breeds and so many different kinds of wools to try and explore. And I've never spun Exmoor Blueface. I don't know what that would feel like. Yeah, so many things to try and explore. So I was really, really curious about that. And yeah, I think it's lovely. You can see there's some shine to the yarn. Yeah, so many things to try. So anyways, I was really intrigued by that fiber blend, and I would love to try some different kinds of fiber like that. So thanks for sharing that, Suzanne. It's really lovely spinning. I'm really interested to see your cushion come together as well. This one I wanted to share is from Nicole. Nicole is also in the Spinning from Scratch thread here, sharing her photos of her yarn in progress. And so she had shared some photos of her with the drop spindle, starting to learn how to drop spindle, and then winding. She had a ball that had already been plied, and then she wound it on a Swift, and then she said it just needed some thwacking. She needed to go into a bath and do some thwacking. But she said, so excited to start this new hobby. I put it off for too many years. And so she's been learning on the spindle while she's awaiting her spinning wheel. I believe she said her spinning wheel is going to be a 3D printed spinning wheel. So be very, very interested to see that. I don't know of any 3D printed spinning wheels. So I wonder who's making those. It sounds very, very interesting. But I love the colors. So poppy and bright and fun. And so these are like one of her first ever skeins of hand spun yarn, and it looks fantastic. So I'm really, really happy for you, Nicole. It looks great. I love it. More on the spindles is this thread about Turkish spindles. And so this is Ellena. Ellena is in the chat as well today, but she shared a series of Turkish spindle photos that she has. So she says she has a Turkish spindle collection, about 4 of them, and she said they're great for cobweb weight spinning, and that you can tuck them into a travel soap container with their fiber and take them hiking or backpacking easily. So this is, I believe this one is the Jenkins Turkish spindle. It's so pretty, beautiful wood, all this kind of stuff. She also has another photo in this thread where she has just like a tiny little box, and the fiber that she's spinning, and the fiber that's come off of the Turkish spindle, the yarn that's come off of the Turkish spindle, is all in this tiny little box, and you can just take it with you. Again, very portable, really, really lovely. And so we do have a class here, Spinning with Suspended Spindles, where Diana Twiss, who's also in the chat here today, she talks about how to spin with Turkish spindles, how to wind the yarn on, but you can I love Turkish spindles. You could be just obsessed looking for those turtle photos on Instagram. They're really, really lovely. If you're very careful about how you wind your yarn onto the Turkish spindle, they create these beautiful patterns. So I encourage you guys to check that out if you have not yet seen those. And finally, we have last photo here. This one is snapshots of a hand-spun sweater that Juliet is knitting right now. So you can see her hand-spun yarn down here in the bottom corner. She said it's meant to be a chunky short sleeve sweater. And I love the colors. This is all knitting up really, really beautifully. She's got a couple of selfie photos in the thread, and I believe she's already finished it, but this is the forum thread for that, and she was asking about some suggestions for how she should do the sleeve, how she should adapt the pattern for a sleeve. So basically, she was basing her sweater on something called the Muse Tea by Amanda, and so she has a photo of the original photo that she was kind of working from, and she's made a bunch of modifications to it. So she's wondering about how she should fix up the sleeves. And so I know Robin's here in the chat too, and Robin provided a lot of suggestions, but I think it's just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful to see how everybody can help and chime in and provide feedback and guidance and ideas and suggestions in the discussion forum. It's wonderful to see all of that help and growth happening there. So fantastic. Oh, handspun sweater is such a huge accomplishment. It's absolutely fantastic. So while we're in here, please do let me know if you guys have any other questions or anything that has come up in the past month or so that you're interested in hearing about. I know we had sort of a new member or a member welcome meeting earlier this month, and it was we all got together on Google Meet, and I got a chance to sort of meet new members in person, face to face, and sort of just, talk about parts of the school, help people find things in the school. If that's helpful, please let me know. If you want to do more of those member meetups, please let me know. I'm always open to suggestions and ideas, but these are the things that have been happening this past month, both for the school and also for Sweet Georgia. And if you guys ever have any questions, ever have any sort of things that you want to share or talk about, please feel free to reach out. People have been messaging me through Discord. You can message me through the forums. There's a message function in the forums, or you can just email me. But probably some of the easiest ways are probably Discord, I feel like, because it's quicker. It's like texting. So that's been really, really lovely. So that is basically what I have for you today. If you do have any other courses, then yes, please go ahead and send me a message. And Ellena is saying, yes, that's not a Jenkins Turkish spindle. That was a Snyder mini Turkish spindle. So we should put some of those links in there as well. So thank you guys so much for being here today. I will see you guys next month for the November live office hours. And hopefully maybe I'll see you in one of the virtual co-working sessions that are coming up. Thanks so much for being here. I will see you in the next one. All right, bye for now.